Imagine this. You walk into your office, or maybe, even your literal backyard pond, and you notice one fish isn't looking so good. Maybe it even dies. Your first thought, it's probably check the fish. Makes sense, right? But what if 50 fish start dying? At that point, as Nathaniel Miller's father, Glenn Miller, apparently wisely observed, if 50 fish die, check the pond. And that simple but really profound observation, it sparked Nathaniel's safety net Miller's book, Fix the Pond. It fundamentally shifted his perspective on leadership. So this deep dive is all about unpacking that exact truth. We're not here with quick fixes or a simple how-to manual. As Miller himself puts it, this work is designed to make you think, to challenge what you've maybe come to normalize, disrupt what you might excuse, and really question what you've always accepted as just the way it is. So don't expect a neat checklist at the end, but you will get, I think, a sharper focus, deeper conviction, and probably more questions than answers. Because like the book, this dive is really about exploring the question, not handing you the answer.
And that's really our mission here today. Exploring how leaders can move beyond just treating symptoms, the surface stuff in organizations, and actually start shaping environments where people genuinely thrive. It's all about preventing failure, building resilient systems through what Miller calls system leadership. We're going to unpack why in so many places, most failures aren't caused by, quote, bad people, but by, broken systems.
Yeah, I can't wait to dive into this. It feels so relevant to so many challenges we see, every day. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's unpack this core idea first. In organizations, you hear it constantly, we have a people problem. And the immediate, almost instinctive reaction is retrain. Discipline, send more emails, hold more meetings, right?
Exactly. That's the go-to playbook.
But what happens? The problem, it just persists. You find yourself in the same loop.
And what's truly fascinating here is Miller's argument. It's often not because individuals aren't trying or aren't capable. It's that the underlying system is fundamentally broken. He really challenges us to ask, are we trying to change people instead of fixing the pond they swim in? It's such a vivid analogy, isn't it? That pond where fish are sick or dying. If you only focus on the fish, testing them, isolating them, treating them one by one, but you never actually look at the water, the quality, the temperature, the oxygen levels, you're missing the actual source of the sickness. You're just treating symptoms.
Right. And if you map that onto an organization, those common symptoms, low morale, more near misses, high turnover, actual incidents, those are your fish symptoms. The visible signs, something's wrong. But the deeper pond causes, those are the systemic things. Maybe poorly designed policies, unsustainable workload, misaligned incentives, even leadership blind spots. The core message is powerful. You don't fix people by pushing them harder. You fix systems by asking better questions about the environment itself.
Miller provides this really insightful visual, too, contrasting fish symptoms and pond causes. Low morale, super common symptom, often points directly to, say, chronic overload or really unclear priorities. Or think about rule breaking. It looks like non-compliance on the surface.
It looks like someone deciding not to follow the rules.
Exactly. But often it actually indicates unrealistic procedures or maybe just a lack of capacity in the system to even follow the rules properly. And burnout, which we see everywhere, nearly always signals there's just no margin built in. The system's running too hot, maybe stuck in constant crisis mode.
And this leads to a really crucial question for you, the listener, a sort of pond reflection. What are we seeing in people that actually points to system strain? Take a moment to think about that in your own context.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think, because Miller then dives into these common traps leaders fall into when, failure happens.
Yeah, the first one, and maybe the most common, is what he calls the crisis, reflex, and urgency trap.
We've all seen it, right? Something goes wrong, a near miss, a big incident, a public failure, and there's this immediate, almost frantic scramble. Meetings get called, root causes are demanded now, policies get updated, training gets refreshed.
Feels like action. Very decisive.
Yeah, it looks like leadership. You want to be seen doing something.
But Miller really pushes back on that instinct. He asks, are we moving fast or are we moving smart?
Yeah.
That quick action can be a false security blank count. If the underlying system, the thing that allowed the failure, stays the same, well, he puts it starkly. We've just poured clean water into a dirty pond. He contrasts this urgency trap with system leadership. The urgency trap, often driven by emotion, right? Shame, anger.
Right.
Pushes you to react to the noise, blame behavior, add controls, rush to be seen. System leadership, though, encourages focusing on patterns, exploring the context, designing out complexity. And this is key. Pausing to make sure you're taking the right action, not just any action. because action without design just adds more churn, not more safety.
And it's so easy to fall into these traps. He identifies the 5 traps of emotional leadership. What ties them together is they're often about looking like a leader, not actually being effective. There's the visibility trap, doing something obvious to show control, instead of fixing the real issue. The compliance trap, new policies, but nothing changes about why the old ones didn't work.
Like more rules nobody can follow.
Exactly. Then the punishment trap, treating mistakes like moral failures, not system signals. The isolation trap, seeing it as a one-off problem with one person, not a symptom. And the fatigue trap, piling more work onto people who are already exhausted after a crisis.
Which leads to a really powerful legacy checkpoint question for leaders. What kind of leader am I in moments of failure, reactive or reformative? Do you react or do you reform?
Okay, moving on, Miller points out another pattern. This one's pretty insidious. The react, a correct, overlook loop. It's a common cycle. Failure happens, we respond quickly, we correct the person involved, check the box, move on.
Feels like problem solved.
Right. But he argues this creates a dangerous, self-perpetuating loop.
The system blind spot here is exactly that, overlooking the deeper design flaw. Corrective actions, sure, they're necessary, but without fixing the system at the same time, they can end up just blaming the worker, adding paperwork, creating this illusion of control, and building fatigue, not resilience. You just can't audit your way out of bad design. Think about the correction loop he describes. Failure happens. We do a root cause analysis, but maybe we don't ask why the system allowed it.
We stop too soon.
Yeah. Then assign corrective action, retrain the individual, maybe, but ignore system capacity, close the loop, art complete, feel good. But really, you just reinforced a weak system and then repeat failure, surprise. But you never redesign the condition, which really makes you ask, what does our correction process actually correct? The symptom or the system?
It's incredible how this gets normalized, because when we correct without redesigning, we kind of teach people not to speak up. We normalize that kind of failure, and we basically guarantee it happens again. It's like the system screaming for help, and we're just applying another Band-Aid.
Exactly. The true cost of overlooking these system issues is huge. Every time we do this, we normalize failure, we teach silence, build distrust, increase recurrence. Like Miller says, if failure feels familiar, it's not your people, it's your system screaming for help.
Now, when failure keeps happening, despite these quick fixes, leaders might feel huge pressure for something decisive. The feeling is, okay, we just need to get rid of the problem person. Firing someone feels like leadership, doesn't it? It's visible, action-oriented.
It does. But the book calls this leadership theater. And it poses a critical question, a real system check. If we replaced everyone in this role, would the system suddenly work? The answer, usually, is a loud no. Strong performers burn out. New hires make the same mistakes. Why?
Because the pond hasn't changed.
Exactly. The pond hasn't changed. There's also what he calls the surface cleaning reflex. New signs, slogans, public commitments, these often just mask deeper issues. They don't fix the conditions. They just make things look better temporarily. The contrast is really clear in his fragile leadership action versus pond builder system design response. Firing someone, fragile. It rarely solves the root cause. A pond builder leader redesigns the role, its risks, posting new signs. Fragile. Simplifying the workflow to reduce confusion, that's pond building. Blaming non-compliance, fragile. Engineering the right behavior into the process. Pond builder. This leads to a tough pond reflection. Are we engineering real solutions or just managing optics?
And if you keep managing optics, you end up spiraling into what Miller calls the blame, bandage, burnout spiral. This is that chronic failure loop. Blame someone, update a policy, repeat training, hold meetings, maybe post a sign. And then boom, it happens again. Why?
Because the underlying system didn't change. Not one bit. Blame feels strong, right? They just don't care. It sounds like moral clarity.
Yeah, it feels decisive.
But Miller argues it's a leadership blindfold. It stops any real system learning. It's basically an escape from responsibility. And after blame come the bandages. Another policy, a checklist, retraining. Optics. Not structural changes. The blame, bandage, burnout spiral graphic shows it